bringing you classic rock through the ages, profiling all genres and subtypes with interviews and reviews. Kaleidoscope ears will put colour into your music from 6 p.m. Sunday nights. Tune in and drop out. I have with me David Eaton. How you doing, Dave?
Hello, mate. Good, thank you.
And Dean Bennison. How are you, Dean?
I'm good. How you doing?
Yeah, very good. And Robert Moulding. How are you?
I'm great, mate. How you doing?
And these guys are from the Sydney-based band Anubis. Great to have you with us on the show tonight, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Give us a brief history of Anubis up to today.
It began in 2004 with Robert and I. We basically got the thing together to write the first record, 230503. And we sort of got a long way into the process. My brother Steve, who's our drummer, he came on board and we did, a few of those tracks were improvised, or a few parts of those tracks at least were improvised. And then we put the band together. Doug came on board and Nick came on board. Nick and I used to play together in a band before that. And Dean and I played in a Pink Floyd tribute show as well. And Dean, we also went to uni as well together. And Dean sort of produced the record. It was a really big part of that. Played, a bit of guitar on it, sang some backing vocals, and basically stamped his sound all over that record. Made sense of what I'd done with the first record, if truth be known. Spent a long time fixing all my mistakes. And that was it really. After that, we had a band and we went out, did gigs. The first record sold better than what we really ever expected it to, and that brings us really round to now.
How does the first album differ from this one? Tell me a bit about that one first.
I reckon the biggest difference is that more of the band was involved in more of the writing and production and everything. I think it would be true to say that both Dave and Rob were in the driving seat as the writers of the record again, but there were more contributions. Doug had quite a bit to contribute to the writing, and we all, sort of took part in the arrangement process and working them up in the rehearsal room. And I'd, sort of been involved in the production of it from the start, rather than, sort of coming in part way through. So we were all, I suppose it was a bit more homogenous this time. Yeah.
For me, the big difference for this one was the artwork on the second album. Do you think that's an important thing with particularly progressive rock albums?
Yes, definitely. It's definitely a big part of to have a strong visual aspect to the whole package. And I think with progressive rock, you're basically paying for the whole package. That's why a lot of people buy whole records, or even they enjoy their vinyls, they enjoy their gatefolds, they enjoy just the whole thing. It's a whole experience.
It's music that lends itself very well to visuals anyway, and being conceptual. We work very closely with a friend of ours called Tim Neal and Matt Buttsworth. Matt did the first album artwork as well, but this one here, they worked together and they came up with this this wonderful concept that basically takes the story of Tower of Silence, which is sort of passing of time and entrapment, and they abstracted that. They took it one step further, and it is a very eye-catching piece of work. I mean, it's a beautiful cover, and I think largely, especially overseas, it looks really good. So people do recognise it and go, oh, this looks like it might be, something quite classy, and they listen to it, and hopefully that impression is not dispelled when the music begins.
In terms of the band, was doing prog a conscious decision for you guys, or is that simply how the music evolved?
I think it's fair to say from my perspective, I mean, progressive rock has been pretty much a staple diet of my music consumption, as it were, for quite some time. I mean, the very first gig I saw was Genesis in London in 1992. And my dad took me for my 13th birthday. And I'll never forget, it's the moment they started dancing a volcano, and the minute where you get the dub, 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 and that huge, bass pedal comes up, and the fire on the screen and at the back, and, the fog and lights all change colour. And that moment, I'm like, I've got to do that. That was what I wanted to be when I grew up. I haven't quite got there yet, but I'm on the way.
1992 Genesis. I'm a bit concerned about that.
Well, look, they still play some of the old stuff. Look, I won't deny that it wasn't as good as the early stuff, but I'm not old enough to have seen it with Steve Hackett, so never mind.
Now, you guys are an Australian band, Sydney-based, as I mentioned. I'm noticing a lot of English accents there. Is that the reason behind your ability to play prog so well?
I don't know if it's a reason, but I like Robert and I are both English. My brother Steve obviously is as well. And Martin, who plays saxophone with us, is also English as well. So we're sort of, if you include Martin in the mix, we're sort of outnumbering the Aussies 4-3 anyway, which is, you know, but we won't say that if this is going to Aaron's face. So, yeah, mate, we're Aussie.
Getting back to A Tower of Silence and the concept, what was the inspiration behind the concept of that album?
I think its major theme that runs throughout the record is one of being sort of trapped in limbo. We use the physical sort of limbo as a religious...
the purgatory analogy was there, you know. So,
but I think it's more just to being stuck between two places and sort of fear of the unknown, basically.
I think we decided quite early on that concept was, you know, quite able to be sort of fitted to, or was very malleable, so it could apply to just about anybody's life. We've all been in that position, you know, whether or not it's you know, a health problem, or whether or not it's a relationship problem or something like that. That we've all been in that situation, and it really was just a metaphor or analogy that led us to that point.
To be honest, I think that's just far more prosaic sort of description of how we came to it. To be honest, I really think Dave just wanted to do a ghost story, but we found some really good ways to get some really good themes to run through that, and it worked really, really well.
We'll just consider it a coming together of different ideas, shall we?
As a classic prog fan myself, I love the Mellotron. How important is that instrument to the music of Anubis?
It's not in any way essential. I mean, I'm as much of, I guess, a Mellotron fan as what you are, and for the mood that we wanted to set, there is no better sound. I mean, it's, you know, eerie, it's wheezy, it's oldie worldy, you know, it has all those qualities that just was absolutely the right tone color for the keyboard parts on this album. It's not to say that the Mellotron is going to be, you know, or will stay a ubiquitous feature of Anubis, but it was absolutely perfect for what we've done so far. And if the next album has got something that requires that mood, absolutely it'll be there. I don't think there's a modern string sound to touch it, to be honest with you. The digital synthesizers leave me a little bit cold.
There's a couple of standout tracks on there, but the one that kept going through my head last week was a track number 6. What was that called? Can't remember. It's got a long title.
And I Wait for My World to End.
Yeah, that's the one. That's got a great little guitar. Got a great guitar thing going there through it.
There you go, Dean.
Oh, I can't claim the credit. It's not my riff. I play it on the record, but it's not my riff. Good riff though.
You wrote that one, didn't you?
Yeah, that was mine. I'll take that one. That was, yeah.
No, very catchy, and obviously there's a lot of long tracks there. So I think the Birds Robe promotes another one as the single from the album. I would have thought that one would have been the single because it's quite catchy.
It could have flipped a coin between the two, I reckon. And if we're going to do another single shortly, then that will be it. Yeah,
that's definitely the one we've got earmarked for the next sort of radio track, without a doubt.
Speaking of Birds Robe, how did you become involved with the Birds Robe Collective?
I think Mike Solo, who runs the Birds Robe Collective, he came to us. So.
Yeah, it was for Menagerie in 2009. We just finished 230-503, and we've been playing some gigs with a band called Meniscus, who you may well be aware of. They're doing some pretty good things and just brought out a wonderful record. And we knew them quite well because, so we've been playing with them. And Cameron Brennan, their drummer, lovely, lovely chap. I think actually he put Mike in touch with us through MySpace. Showing how long ago it was now. And and it sort of went from there. We got invited to play Menagerie, and Mike's a really amiable chap and really sort of digs long form music. So we were very lucky. We sort of got in with that. And when we did a show where we played all of the first album in sequence, totally old school, last year, and then we got asked to do it again for another thing Birds Robe put on, and that relationship sort of just blossomed. And then when he started the label, we were one of the bands that he sort of spoke to, and obviously we were delighted to be asked, and that's what's led to Tower coming out on Birds Robe.
So what do you think of this idea of a collective of bands, of experimental prog type bands who are all on the same label? Do you think that's a good way to promote this type of music, particularly in Australia?
Oh, absolutely. It's a very small genre of music within this country, and I guess we got to rally together in many ways.
It's a lot nicer for a fan to come and get something. I mean, although we're all very different. I mean, a Toe Hider set doesn't sound like an Anubis set, which doesn't sound like a Makes Wave set, which doesn't sound like a Pirate set. But the simple fact of the matter is we all do something that's common, which is try and stay out of the mainstream, try and, do things that are a little bit different, perhaps a little bit more emphasis on musicianship or on long-form music or technique, all those things. So the people who come to see the bands will probably find stuff to enjoy in all of them. Whereas if you're playing a band like Anubis with a death metal band, there's going to be no cross-pollination of fans whatsoever. It's just, and that was happening in Sydney. I mean, right up until we met up with Mike, we were playing with bands in some cases that were completely, I guess ill-suited to be on the same bill. And that's not any disrespect meant to them. It's just stylistically, there was just far too little common ground for people to be able to enjoy a whole night out.
I was flicking through my latest issue of Classic Rock Presents Prog magazine, and there you guys were. In one of the reviews, someone reviewed the live gigs that you did recently supporting Netopia. How was that, supporting Netopia? How was that for you guys to be in Classic Rock Presents Prog?
Yeah, I think the best way to sum it up was about half an hour after Dave got a copy, I got an email off him with a photo of the page of the review. I think the title was "Does this mean we've made it?" Which, obviously it means something. We're pretty chuffed to be in a magazine that is one that I think we all read from time to time, and obviously the bands that are in in all the pages there are bands that we always admired and definitely follow. So to be on the same pages was a pretty big thing for us. Yeah, we're well chuffed.
I've been collecting that magazine for 12 years. Well, not Presents Prog, but Classic Rock. And the first issue I got was because Genesis and Marillion were in it. And, I remember thinking at the time, if the day I'm in here will be, sort of the best thing ever. And I never, ever expected it to happen. It's sort of one of those naive, childish dreams. And it's funny how these things have a habit. Well, they don't have a habit, but just lately they've all started to sort of look possible, and that's just the most amazing feeling.
I was so excited to hear this. This is like the classic rock that everyone wants to hear, and it was actually coming out of Sydney. I couldn't believe it. That's
really lovely of you to say, Dwayne. It sort of means a lot that people notice that.
Yeah, but it's not just me. You're getting a lot of interest out of countries in Europe. I think Germany is one where you're selling a lot of records, isn't it?
Germany's been probably the best country for us. I think we've sold more records in Germany than anywhere else. And as much as a surprise to us as anyone, really. Especially, we do, quite a few gigs at home, and obviously none in Europe so far, but they still, buy it over there. And it seems to be largely, I think, obviously there's some people that do work over there, like Just for Kicks, who, distributes over there for us. But I think a large portion of that is people, recommending it. And,
that's right.
And it's, pretty, well and truly very gratifying to think that people, not only like it, but like it enough to recommend it.
Yeah. I think our golden rule is we want to play what we want to play, and we write what we want to write, and that's mainly progressive rock. So it seems to translate to people enjoying it. So
yeah, because you're getting a lot of mentions too on Prog Archives, aren't you?
That in itself is the biggest buzz, I think, because I mean, when I checked the other day, it was sitting really, really, sort of high up in the charts there, and for this year, and I think we're in the top 200 prog albums of all time, and that really is, to us, it's just it's unbelievable, and we're a little bit naive in a sense, where every single sale or every single person that writes something or says something about the band means something to us. We're still small enough that we're touched by that. So to see our name, sitting next to, the best musicians, what we think are the best musicians in the world, to have our album sitting, above, half of Pink Floyd's discography or half of Genesis' discography or whatever, it's like, it almost doesn't seem real in a sense. But it's still a thrill for us. We really we're really proud of it, but at the same time, we're incredibly grateful to everybody that sort of said something about the band or put us in that position, because really we never expected it. We just made an album that we wanted to make. So for us, this is just the biggest thrill, and we really are incredibly grateful.
And unfortunately, with prog bands, you tend to get a bigger name overseas than you do here. Did you talk to Netopia much about that and how it is for them?
They've got a lot of stories and a lot of advice for the likes of us and Sleep Makes Waves and Toehider, our label mates that played with us as well. And I guess at times like this, we get the opportunity to sort of see the benefit of I guess, the largesse that a bigger name progressive rock band would command in Australia. There's a lot of people there from, say, the Yes Fans Forum or something like that, who come out simply because it is what it is. And hopefully those people probably saw us or saw one of the other bands and will come back and enjoy what we do at a later date.
So do you think you guys will be heading over to, say, Germany sometime soon?
It's definitely on the cards, isn't it? If we can make it happen, it's definitely something we want to do.
It's been mentioned by a few people that that they'd like to help us in whatever way we can to get over that part of the world. So we'd be certainly keen for it if we can make it happen as soon as possible.
There were a couple of people that we talked to while Robert and I were in the UK, I'd say a couple of weeks back. There's a chap in England called Cliff Pearson who does a podcast. Lovely fella. We had a nice curry with him, and he's got basically he's got a lot of people who he knows, and there's at the same time there's a lot of people we spoke to in London that want to other bands that want to sort of us to tour with them, which is very exciting. We never sort of anticipated that was going to happen, and a lot of that I think comes again from the good name that Mike Solo's building. That can only help all of us, I think.
Thanks very much for your time, guys. It's been great talking to you, and I wish you all the best for 2012 and beyond.
Thank you so much, Dwayne. We really appreciate your time.
Cheers. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, mate.